General Vex Thara stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Dominator, her reptilian features twisted into a sneer as she gazed at the blue-green marble hanging in the void before them. Earth looked so peaceful, so vulnerable. The massive Zorathian battle fleet stretched out behind her ship, 3,000 vessels, carrying the might of an empire that had conquered half the galaxy. "Pathetic," she hissed, her forked tongue flicking between razor-sharp teeth. 200 years of isolation, and they think they can simply ignore the Zorathian Empire. Commander Kelt, her second-in-command, approached with the latest intelligence reports. "General, our scouts confirm no visible defenses in the outer system. No orbital platforms, no patrol fleets. It's as if they've completely withdrawn from space." Vex Thara's laugh was like grinding metal. 2 centuries ago, humanity had made what the galaxy considered a colossal mistake. As the Zorathian Empire expanded across the stars, consuming world after world, most species either submitted or were crushed. But humans had chosen a third option: complete isolation. Earth's last ambassador to the Galactic Senate had delivered a simple message: humanity withdraws from galactic affairs. We close our borders. Do not attempt to contact us. Then something unprecedented had happened. Earth had simply vanished. Not literally, of course. The planet was still there, still orbiting its yellow star. But every probe sent into the Sol system had disappeared. Every fleet that approached had found themselves inexplicably turned around, their crews convinced they had searched the system thoroughly and found nothing of interest. It was as if Earth existed in a bubble of cosmic indifference. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the approaching fleet from the hidden observation station buried 3 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean. At 93, she was one of the last scientists who remembered the decision to activate the Solitude Protocol. She had been a young xenopsychologist then, part of the team that had studied the Zorathian expansion, and reached a terrifying conclusion. "They're not just conquerors," she murmured to her colleague, Dr. James Park, as they watched the massive alien vessels cross the orbit of Pluto. "They're harvesters. They don't just want our resources, they want our minds, our creativity, our very essence." The Zorathians were indeed unique among galactic predators. Their empire didn't simply enslave conquered populations, it absorbed them. Through a combination of advanced neurotechnology and bioengineering, they integrated the best minds and abilities of conquered species into their collective consciousness, growing stronger with each victory. But humanity had prepared for this day. 200 years of isolation hadn't been spent in stagnation. While the galaxy had assumed Earth was cowering in fear, humanity had been evolving. The Solitude Protocol was just the beginning, a psychic field generated by a network of quantum consciousness amplifiers that made observers subconsciously avoid the Sol system. But the real work had been happening beneath the surface. General Vex Thara felt the first stirring of unease as her fleet approached Mars. Her tactical displays showed clear readings of the red planet, but something felt wrong. Her experienced warriors were shifting nervously at their stations, their predatory instincts detecting a threat they couldn't identify. "General," reported her sensor officer, "we're detecting some kind of field emanating from the inner system. It's not interfering with our instruments, but the crew is reporting discomfort." "Maintain course," Vex Thara snarled, though she felt it too, a growing sense that they were being watched by something vast and patient. "We've conquered species with far more advanced technology than these primitive mammals." That was their first mistake. Humanity had never been primitive, just young. And 2 centuries of focused evolution had produced something the galaxy had never encountered. As the Zorathian fleet crossed the orbit of Mars, they entered the outer perimeter of humanity's true defense. The collective mind, not a hive consciousness like the Zorathians used, but something far more sophisticated. Every human on Earth, and the hidden colonies throughout the system, was connected through quantum-entangled neural networks that preserved individual consciousness while allowing instantaneous communication and coordination. Dr. Sarah Chen, now serving as Earth's primary coordinator, felt the invasion fleet like a discordant note in humanity's symphony. Unlike the Zorathians' forced assimilation, humanity's connection was voluntary, elegant, and strengthened rather than diminished individual creativity. "They're beautiful in their way," she observed to the collective consciousness, her thoughts instantly shared with 8 billion human minds. "But they've made themselves into parasites. They've forgotten how to create, only how to consume." The response came not in words, but in unified purpose. Humanity had spent 2 centuries not just advancing their technology, but evolving their very nature. They had become something unprecedented, a species that could act as one without losing their individuality. General Vex Thara realized something was terribly wrong when her fleet began to slow. Not their engines, those were functioning perfectly, but the crews themselves were becoming sluggish, confused. Her tactical officers stared at their displays with blank expressions, as if they were seeing something entirely different than what the instruments showed. "Report," she roared, but her voice seemed to echo strangely in the suddenly quiet bridge. The truth was that humanity had learned to weaponize consciousness itself. As the Zorathian fleet penetrated deeper into the system, they encountered waves of directed thought, not psychic attacks, but something far more subtle. The humans were gently, persistently rewriting the invaders' perception of reality. Commander Kelt, his reptilian features slack with confusion, turned to his general. "Ma'am, our scans show the system is empty. There's nothing here worth conquering. Perhaps we should." "No?" Vex Thara's fury blazed as she fought against the growing certainty that this mission was pointless. Her warrior's instinct screamed that they were in mortal danger, even as her enhanced senses told her they were alone in empty space. But humanity's real surprise was yet to come. As the Zorathian fleet approached Earth's orbit, reality seemed to shimmer around them. The blue planet below suddenly revealed its true nature, not a defenseless world, but the heart of something far greater. The space around Earth was filled with structures that defied conventional physics, crystalline formations that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, energy patterns that pulsed with the rhythm of human thought. Dr. Vasquez smiled as she watched the invaders' confusion through sensors that existed partially outside normal spacetime. They expected to find a primitive world hiding behind barriers. Instead, they found a species that has transcended the need for traditional defenses. The Zorathian Empire had built their power on the assumption that conquest was the highest form of evolution. But humanity had discovered something the galaxy had never imagined, a form of existence that made conquest irrelevant. General Vex Thara felt her empire's collective consciousness recoil in shock as it encountered humanity's distributed awareness. For the first time in millennia, the Zorathian hive mind touched something it couldn't absorb, couldn't understand, couldn't conquer. Humanity's consciousness was like water. It flowed around attempts to grasp it, yet it could reshape anything it touched. The invasion fleet found itself caught in a web of perception and reality that defied their understanding. Their weapons, designed to destroy matter and enslave minds, were useless against a species that had learned to exist as both individual and collective, both matter and consciousness. In the end, the mighty Zorathian fleet simply left. Not in retreat, but in confusion, their crews convinced they had thoroughly searched an empty system and found nothing of military value. Only General Vex Thara retained fragments of memory of what they had truly encountered, and even she would spend the rest of her life questioning whether it had been real. As the alien ships departed, humanity's collective mind turned its attention back to its great work. They had spent 2 centuries not hiding from the galaxy, but transcending it. The borders weren't closed to keep others out, they were open to keep humanity's new form of existence from accidentally overwhelming species that weren't ready for such evolution. Earth hadn't closed its borders out of fear. It had closed them out of compassion, protecting a galaxy that wasn't ready to encounter what humanity had become. And when the Empire had tried to invade, they had discovered that some boundaries exist not as walls, but as fundamental shifts in the nature of reality itself. The invasion was over before it truly began, leaving the galaxy none the wiser that it had just brushed against its own future evolution.